Stone Circles and Crop Circles, a Romance, presented by Michael Glickman. In this lecture, Michael takes a sardonic look at how crop circles often appear near megalithic sites and describes the similarities in geometries and hidden numbers within both their sets of designs. Recorded live at Megalithomania Conference 2006.
First of all, good morning, and thank you for coming along. I was going to say thank you for coming along so early, but the projector melted. Now, many people have told me that the crop circles are fundamentally satanic, but this is the first occasion on which a carousel of crop circle slides has caused a projector to auto-destruct. Hey, what's happened to the light? This lecture was called Crop Circles and Stone Circles, a Love Story, and I need to explain this. I am daunted by the lineup this weekend. Seriously, a lot of these people are, as far as I'm concerned, scholars of breathtaking erudition, and they asked me to talk, and I said, it's very nice, to be on a platform with Michel and Martineau and Neil and Heath, is, apart from myriad others, is daunting and flattering. But I had to confess, I really know nothing about stone circles. And they said, no. So I thought, well, I'll do crop circles. I only know about crop circles. I thought I'll do crop circles and stone circles, a love story. And then I suddenly realized why they asked me. And I'll let you in on the secret. We all know absolutely that the stone circles are hoaxes. And they've asked me to talk about crop circles to bring some reality into the event. There is a relationship between the crop circles and the stone circles, and I don't honestly know what it is. It's not clear, and so I must change my title from Stone Circles and Crop Circles, a Love Story, to Crop Circles and Stone Circles, a Flirtation. I think intimacy, as they say in the police forces, has not been achieved. And there will be an occasion, I imagine, when we'll understand it, and we can then call it a love story. But for the moment, it's stone circles and crop circles, a flirtation. Now, Graham referred yesterday to symbol, which I thought was very interesting. I'm coming more and more to believe that the crop circles are here as part of a project to enable us to return to a more symbolic life. We're already halfway there. I think we're in the middle of a dimensional shift, a vibrational shift, a comprehension shift, a consciousness shift. And I think what is going to emerge more and more is that the symbolic nature of things will be revalued. We live in a terrorist society. We're being told about the fundamentalisms of Al-Qaeda, but of course we're all living very happily under a vicious fundamentalism, the fundamentalism of science, scientism, which has limited and reduced our ability to lead a full life. And I think we will find in the very near future that the inadequate, reductive ideas of the scientific method and Mr. Occam and his silly razor have a lot to answer for. Pitch yourselves back 2 years. Who could have imagined that a major American city would be destroyed by a weather event? Right? Now, of course, they shrug their shoulders and say, oh, well, it's just a hurricane, freak of nature. But think about it. The hurricane did not destroy Baltimore or Detroit. It destroyed a major city on the Gulf Coast of America. The Gulf Coast of America is a receiving, processing, expediting area for oil. Oil consumption causes global warming. Global warming causes hurricanes. There is a synchronicity there which needs to be considered. We must pay attention. And more of these things are being thrown at us. We're being told to look. And the scientific method says, no, weather. Who would have imagined that a whale would swim up the Thames to the center of our capital city to die? Think of the symbolic nature of that. Who would have imagined that the Vice President of America, out hunting, would have shot a lawyer? Is there any more precise and perfect metaphor for the Bush administration? And the crop circles, in their way, are working, I believe, to ease our path towards the new symbolic life, which I await with ease. Now, I'm going to be talking about the symbol of crop circles, particularly the symbolism of number and geometry, and I'm going to be referring to the relationship only of crop circles to Stonehenge, obviously, and the Avebury complex, which includes Silbury Hill. Could we have the first slide? Yes, we could if I press the first button. Oh. Right. This is a little formation at Upton Scudamore in the late 80s. It's a type of formation known as quintuplet, similar to a dice 5 spot. And it is perhaps, arguably, debatably, the most common type of crop circle which is ever manifested. Now, there's been some recent work done by Alan Brown, who is yet another genius. I'm privileged to have met many geniuses. But Alan Brown has demonstrated that the massive majority of these quintuplets actually when analyzed, square the circle. We'll be dealing with squaring of the circle later. But before we come on to that, I want to go on to some seminal work by John Martineau, which really lit the touch paper. This geometric analysis was absolutely crucial to every one of us who were working in the geometry, because it demonstrated that a simple fourfold geometry based on two cardinal directions, an orthogonal geometry of right angles, was in fact proportioned and constrained by a five-fold star. If a circle was drawn around the perimeter of the outriders of the satellites, and then the five-fold star was constructed within that circle, the arm crossing of that star precisely locates and sizes the central mother circle. Now, of course, none of the lines shown on this five-pointed star existed in reality. They were notional, they were ideas, they were what we call these days virtual. And it took John Martineau to place a precise survey on the drawing board and realize the constraints which underlay the whole program that the crop circles were giving us. Now, it so happens that five-fold geometry has a real meaning. 5 is the number of life. I mean, we think of number as ways of calculating our VAT and how much petrol we're getting, how many miles we're getting per gallon. But in fact, there is another seam of symbol underlying number, and 5 is the number of life. We have 5 digits on the end of our limbs, and we'll be dealing again with 5 later. Here is another formation much later, I think 97, in Barbary Castle. But again, when you stick a five-fold star on this, when you put a pentagram on it, you find that once again the central circle is precisely sized and located. Now here is a simple diagram of the star in question, and the angles are very important. There are obviously 5 of these triangles around it, which are in fact isosceles triangles with 2 equal and one unequal side. But once you get an isosceles triangle and you put this crucial angle there, the relationship between the long side and the short side is forever established. You have generated a recurrent proportion. The proportion between the green and the red side there is the golden section proportion. If the red side is 1 in length, the green side is 0.618. Now, this is a proportion which occurs throughout nature and, in fact, is central to the construction of our own frame. This clearly is a 6-fold star, but I worked for months to try and find that this too was constrained by 5-fold geometry. It wasn't. It was in fact constrained, as you see here, by 7-fold geometry. Now, 7 really kicks us up a step. 7 is the geometry of spirit, revelation, the eternal feminine, and what lies behind the veil. It so happens that this formation, Oliver's Castle in '96, was the formation which was videoed in formation below 2 pairs of small luminosities. Of course, this was more than many people could take, and it's been declaimed as a hoax, just like the stone circles. But I don't believe it is. But it's ironic that the geometry used to constrain this formation was the geometry of revelation. It was the first formation that was ever filmed in formation. Here's the importance of 7, and I'm going to be dealing specifically with just a few numbers today. 11 is terribly important, especially in relation to the 11 sequences, 11, 22, 33, all the way through to 77, are the master number sequence refers, it is said, to contact with other dimensions. 11 indicates first contact, 22 is first contact, and the beginning of an understanding of some of the information of other dimensions, and it continues 22, 33, 40, until you achieve 77, by which stage, presumably, you are a master, and you are an ascended master, and you're able to disembody by the gate, float around the room, or whatever. I don't know. But it's a very important sequence. And 13 is an absolute killer number, which implies transformation. Now, what is interesting about we had 5 from the start, but 7, 11, and 13 have unfolded in a very, very sequential way, very much as though we were students. And it is as though the information has been delivered to us at a rate which we were able to accept. Now, it is true that most people don't have a clue what 7 is. Most people don't have a clue that 13, people say, 13, unlucky number. But in some kind of way, group consciousness is responding to these signals. Or this is what I would contend. Now, the other thing that started to be clearly important in '94 was the relationship between the crop circle and the idea of the labyrinth. This is the absolutely standard Cretan labyrinth, 7 rings. And this is the more elaborate, larger labyrinth, in this case, Chartres Cathedral, 11 rings. So the labyrinthine idea, which fundamentally was the walking of a sacred path which symbolized our passage from birth to death, or from materiality to spirituality, or whatever. The labyrinthine idea, which was being played out massively during the crop circle narrative, started to focus on the development of these 2 very important numbers, 7 and 11. Spirit and dimensional contact. Here we have a small and strange, it is technically another quintuplet, but it's a very specific quintuplet, head-born worthy. But what is interesting about this is that when you join the centers of the circles, you actually square the central circle. Now, you will have heard of the idea of squaring the circle, and it is probably the ultimate act of sacred geometry in which you attempt to construct without measurement a square, the perimeter of which is exactly the same length as the circumference of a circle. The square, 4, is seen to be the world, mechanical reality. The circle, 1, is seen to be God, divinity, all that is. So the act of squaring the circle is a gestural, symbolic, demonstration of the reconciliation of the material plane and the heavenly plane. Squaring of the circle is an act of crucial importance, and it has appeared to a few of us that the crop circles are reiterating that 4 is becoming close to 1, or the square is becoming close to the circle. And indeed, the phrase squaring the circle is perhaps wrong, because squaring the circle implies the making earthly of the divine. What surely we're looking for is circling the square, the making divine of the world. And this was the first clue of what seemed to be going on. Here again, here is the Great Pyramid. If you draw a circle around it and then draw its square, draw a circle from the center to the point, you square the circle with that diagram. The Great Pyramid squared the circle. And here is Leonardo's diagram of the human frame in 2 separate positions, one of which defines the circle and the other of which defines the square. And this diagram shows that the circle can be squared. And here we have an absolutely crucial little diagram which we should remember, that if the circle has a diameter 7, then its semicircular arc is 11. And that, of course, brings us to 22/7, pi, which we'll be dealing with. Here is a brilliant diagram by John Michel, absolutely seminal discovery, that if the top bit, you house the moon in a square, which is 3 by 3, and you then construct 2 simple 3, 4, 5 triangles on either side of it, you then have a base length of 11. But it so happens that in proportion, if the moon is 3, the Earth is 11. So that when you put these together, if you bring the moon down to kiss the surface of the Earth, and you then place your compass there and draw a circle through the center of the moon, you have squared the circle. And in this diagram, the pyramid, as the diagram of the pyramid has been laid over. So it does seem to be a reiterative concern over the ages. Now, in 99, we had this extraordinary formation. And this is another sevenfold formation. There are 7 arms of 4 circles, making 28. Remember this, it's your homework. And there's 1 circle at the center, making 29. And I thought, that's an interesting number. The next year, we had 6 small stars. Once again, we have the golden section triangle that I told about. We have 6 small stars, each with 5 triangles. That's 30, right? But if you look carefully, 1 has been removed. 29. So I got very interested in this. And here we have this formation. On both sides of this formation, we have 30 points. But 1 has been removed in the gap. So we have 29 and 29. And I thought, I don't understand 29. What are they trying to tell us here? And then I noticed that the date of arrival of this crop circle was the 22nd of July, 22 of 7, 22/7, 22/7, pi. Now, if you're laying things down in the crop circles and you want to say, how are we going to tell these stupid earthlings that we want them to divide 22 by 7? How do you put divide by in the circle? And they thought, hey, maybe we just add them. Maybe if we reiterate 29, 29, 29, and we put 1 down on the 22nd of the 7th month, they'll understand. Pi, 22/7. And what is pi about? Pi is about, I believe, a reiteration of the idea, the link between circularity and squareness, between spirit and material. And then, another surprise. Look carefully in the bottom right-hand corner. Pi. Look, we are divine creatures. Our creativity, inventiveness, and poetry is beyond belief. But we need things driven into our skulls like 6-inch nails. Pi. And then right in front of Silbury Hill, the formation of 33 flames. Now, I was a designer. Do you know how hard it is to design a circular element with 33 components? 33, the 3rd number of the master sequence. And there it is in relation to the hill at the top. And here was a classic 8th order equilateral triangle, 8 rows. And that gives 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. That gives 36 elements. But for reasons unknown, the 3 corner elements are removed, giving 33. Well, where is it? Silbury Hill. Now, Silbury Hill, forgive me, is not a stone circle, but is part of the Avebury complex. So I'm fudging this. Now here's something else very interesting. There's Stonehenge, another hoaxed megalith. And here is a real crop circle that appeared below it. This crop circle had 151 circles. And it had, I must get this right. And it had, here's that other number again, 36. It had 36 circles down its spine. 151 minus 36. Now, before we go on, I was very interested not only in the formation of the crop circles, but the way they were placed in the landscape. And there seemed recurrently to be something very important about this corner by the A303. The fence was broken there by the farmer to allow people in. This was the most visited crop circle ever. So I thought, if I start from there, what is the angle from that point encompassing the circle? It was precisely 36 degrees. And a line drawn through the center circle, number 1, landed right at the center of circle 22. These are all coincidences. But let's look at the number 30. Let's look at the number of circles in the formation. 151. That clearly contains 11. 1 plus 5 plus 1 also contains 7. Coincidence. But there were 36 spinal circles. So we take those away. How many does that leave? 151 minus 36. Come on! 115. And then? Now, this pushes coincidence and synchronicity beyond the random possibilities. You know, it's just take it too far. I mean, every day I confront the real possibility that I am a raving loony. And this might be so, but this symbolic view of what's going on seems repeatedly to find synchronicities. Then again, the two highest circles topologically were also of exactly the same size. They were numbers 16 and 17, which makes 33. This, that is not a UFO, but this is 5 minutes. You're joking, I've got another 3.5 hours. This is Stonehenge built of straw. This is Strawhenge, built by the farmer who made a lot of money from the formation. So I thought I should show you that. We can do it in 5 minutes. Now, this is the final one. This is another formation near Stonehenge. I'm sorry we're so limited for time, but circumstances demand. This is a formation just down the road from Stonehenge. Stonehenge is up to the right or east. And what is amazing about this, if you look at this, is the way these ribbons unfold with such delicacy. There were 3 barrows on the field. One, look at the way that unfolds to touch a tram line there. That unfolds to touch the barrow there. And that curves by that tram line there. And just goes near the road there. I mean, it is landed with the delicacy of an oil tanker being lowered into Trafalgar Square. I mean, what a piece of engineering. And then, if we look at this beautiful thing in more detail, we find that, and this is unbelievable, there is only one dimension. There is only one curve in the whole thing. The straight lines at the ends, the points where, like a scissor cut across a ribbon, are 58 foot long. 58 foot is the single radius of repeated curvature. The whole thing is based on a single curve. How can you make something so elegant and beautiful? The center circle, which seems to be smaller, is in fact like a camera aperture, still made of converging arcs of the same radius. But if we take this further, you'll see there in blue is the 58-foot radius. If we take it further and run a bar along there, there are 13 elements. Transformation. I'd like to go on, but I'm afraid that's all I know.
This has been a Megalithomania audio production. For more information, visit megalithomania.co.uk.